If I asked you to tell me who you think the top 5 NBA players are, you would probably say Luka, Giannis, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, and then maybe Steph Curry, even though you could make a case that maybe SGA could be up there too. But what would at least 4 of those NBA players have in common? They're all international players. Giannis is Greek, Embiid is Cameroonian, Luka is Slovenian, and Jokic is Serbian. But even more than this, the last 5 NBA players have all been international players, with Giannis winning in 2019 and 2020, then Jokic winning in 2021 and 2022, and finally Joel winning in 2023. But guess what, even more than that? The All-NBA first team featured 4 international players, minus Nikola and add SGA. But even more than that, which draft prospect from this draft has been the most hyped since probably LeBron James? Victor Wembanyama. Guess where he is from? Europe, specifically France. Do you see what I'm seeing? There's been a trend, and it's not a stretch to say that the NBA now belongs to the international players. In this video, I'll be covering why international players have been dominating the NBA, what it could mean for the league, and if the international scene is finally catching up to the NBA in terms of talents. So first point, why have international players been dominating the league? Is it that they have a higher work ethic? Oregon is they have more experience? Oregon rather, maybe it's that they are just more talented than American players? Well, 2 out of those 3 observations would be right. While I am not making the claim that American players do not have a high work ethic, but these international players start playing with and against grown men as early as 16, as seen by Luka. When you start playing that young, it teaches you that you have to train and work hard to be able to keep up with the older guys. Not one, but multiple institutional factors distinguish American youth players from their international counterparts. Even though high school and college basketball are very different from the lower level leagues in Europe, both systems generate some of the greatest quality players seen in decades. Players from Europe do have a better grasp of the fundamentals since they are drilled from a young age to develop their shooting, ball handling, and passing skills. This is the traditional approach taken in Lithuania. If a player can master those 3 elements, they will have a solid groundwork upon which to build their game as they progress through adolescence and into adulthood. In the AAU system, athleticism and body control are prioritized, which is useful in some contexts, such as advancement in skill levels. When it comes to defense, a player's ceiling is always higher for those who possess exceptional athleticism. However, coaches have recently begun to see the value in focusing on developing players' skills rather than their physical prowess, making room for Europeans who are more developed and ready to participate. The level of rivalry also varies tremendously. Donny made his professional debut at Real Madrid when he was only 16 years old, and it's not unusual for European players to enter the league at similar ages, giving them valuable experience competing against professionals in their 20s and 30s. No matter how you cut it, that's more important than the highest division of collegiate basketball. After playing professionally in Germany, Orlando Magic rookie Franz Wagner spent 2 years at the University of Michigan, where he adapted his style of basketball to the sluggish, zone defense-heavy game. Wagner played in 55 games during his college career, and his best scoring output was just 22 points in 1 game. Wagner has a solid 15.4 point scoring average in the NBA and has scored in double figures 16 times with a high of 38 points. The question arises, given that his offensive and movement freedom in Europe is certainly superior to what he had at Michigan, if he had stayed in Europe, would he be even better now? This is not to imply that going to college doesn't have its benefits. The sheer number of universities in the United States provides athletes with a stage and a way to stand out. However, the level of competition is lower than in most European divisions, giving players on the other side of the Atlantic an opportunity to advance their careers. The NBA is the clear victor here. It doesn't matter whose side of the Atlantic has the more NBA-ready talent. The NBA's future has never been safer than right now because there has never been this much youthful talent producing at the same time. Which brings me to my next point. International players come into the league more mature than American players. Take the Ja Morant and Zion Williamson situations, for example, which I have made 2 videos on. Go check those out. But because these international players grew up in a different environment, they aren't susceptible, or at least less likely to fall for the traps in today's society. In arguably the game of the season, Luka Doncic scored 60 points, grabbed 21 rebounds, and dished out 10 assists, all of which were new career highs. The effort was not only the highest scoring triple-double in NBA history, but it also broke the record set by fellow European and Dallas Mavericks legend Dirk Nowitzki. It's terrifying to consider what the future holds in light of all these world records being broken by players from other countries. More international prodigies are on the horizon. NBA fans everywhere are going crazy about French adolescent sensation Victor Wembanyama, who is virtually assured of being selected first overall in this year's NBA draft. There has been talk that NBA teams are trying to slack off in order to increase their chances of drafting the 19-year-old. LeBron James, who had a similar background right out of high school, has praised Wembanyama's abilities. Everyone's been a unicorn over the last few years, but Wembanyama, is more like an alien. James stated last October, "It has been said that no one has ever seen anyone as tall as he is, but as fluid and as graceful as he is on the floor." With the rapid expansion of the international game, the NBA is now at a point where there's a large number of retired players from overseas too. They've certainly taken notice of how far the game has come. A whopping 8 of this year's All-Stars were born outside the US, and some feel a sense of big sibling pride. We decided to check in with a few of them to get a better sense of how far international hoops has come and where it might be going. Having a Serbian, a Greek, and a Cameroonian as the greatest players in a league dominated by Americans is a historic occasion. There has never been such an influx of foreign superstars into the NBA. There were 7 players born outside the United States at this year's All-Star game compared to just 230 years earlier. In its inaugural 1946-47 season, the league had 5 players from outside the United States. There were 109 players representing 39 countries to kick off the current season. It is perhaps not unexpected that there has been an influx of international stars with the proliferation of league offices across the world and the growing popularity of the sport in many nations. 11 of the last 27 number 1 overall picks in the NBA were born outside of the United States. The increasing number of non-American players in the NBA can be attributed in large part to the sport's increasing popularity around the world. The sport's global appeal has led to a rise in the quality of its players. Across the globe, more and more kids are picking up basketballs and aspiring to make it to the NBA. The NBA's scouting activities are also contributing to the growth of international players. The league has been hosting camps and showcases across Europe, Asia, Africa, and other places in an effort to attract players from all over the world. This has aided the NBA in identifying promising players who might have gone unnoticed otherwise. Foreign players' influence on the NBA cannot be overstated. They're not just going to change the way the league is played, but they're going to change the way the league is played. Basketball can benefit from the unique perspectives and experiences of its international players. The presence of international players has also contributed to the NBA's globalization. As a result of having players from all over the world, the league's popularity has grown in places other than the United States. As a result, the league is making more money, and players have more ways to interact with their audiences and expand their brands. However, there have been certain difficulties caused by the influx of foreign players into the NBA. It can be challenging for foreign players to adapt to life in the United States due to language and cultural obstacles. The NBA has provided language instruction and cultural training for players and their families in an effort to combat these problems. The influx of foreign players into the NBA has been a great thing for the league as a whole. The league's global influence has grown, and the sport has been exposed to novel tactics and perspectives as a result. The NBA will undoubtedly continue to attract talented overseas players as basketball's global popularity grows. All eyes have been opened over the past 3 years to the fact that the rest of the world can not only produce high-level basketball stars, but can also take over the whole sport.